Welcome back. We want to take a closer look now at a story we first alerted you to on Monday. This Saturday, the first Safe Haven baby box in Northeast Wisconsin will become operational at the Howard Fire Department. It'll be the fourth baby box in the state since they became legal last year, installed with donations from local businesses. This high-tech box allows for the anonymous surrender of an infant up to 3 days old and can be accessed from outside the station. But once the infant is inside the bassinet, a laser beam senses the baby and sends out a notice to the fire station and 911, allowing for recovery within minutes. And we welcome in Jerry Mader. He is from the Knights of Columbus, the Duck Creek Council. They're the group that is behind this, that has raised the money to put this baby box in. So that begs the question, how did you guys get involved in this?
Well, about a year ago, our national magazine for the Knights of Columbus, called Columbia, they had a story in there about in states where it was already permitted, a number of Knights of Columbus councils across the country were sponsoring these boxes. I, like every knight in the country, read this story with great interest, and we started talking about it at our council at St. John the Baptist Catholic Church over in Howard. And the first step was to find out, is this legal to do in the state of Wisconsin? I immediately found out that it just became legal
last
January 1 of 2024. So with that, we kind of voted to start investigating this, and that started a very intensive but fulfilling project.
So in this year, all these things that take place, once you found out, and Wisconsin became the 15th state to allow these, that number is now up to 20. So this is increasing pretty rapidly around the country. But what took place in that year? I would assume there were funds, you had to discuss that, but then there's construction, there's putting this all together. This is a very high-tech box. Tell us about what took place in that year and the partners that you were able to bring on.
Well, my first call was to a fellow parishioner at St. John the Baptist, the administrator at the Village of Howard, Paul Everett. And the first thing we need to find is a place to actually house this box. The Howard Fire Station had just gone to a 24/7 personnel program there, so someone's at the fire station all the time, unless they're out putting out a fire.
Right.
So Paul was on board immediately. He said, Jerry, I'll put you in touch with our fire chief, and you guys can take it from there. So I then was put in touch with Fire Rescue Chief Dennis Staven at the Village of Howard, and he likewise was immediately on board. And so then I went back to my brother Knights and I said, well, if we move forward with this, we have a place to put it. Now we have to contact Safe Haven Baby Box. They have a process that you go through. We started talking about the expenses and all of that. And we decided, we happened to have the money in our treasury before we did any kind of fundraising. And we decided to purchase the box, get it delivered to the fire station, and you know, we'd worry about raising the money later because we wanted to get it in place as quickly as we could.
All right, let's talk about that money, because there is the initial outlay for the box, but the box then requires maintenance, monitoring, all the things. Again, it's a very, as we explained earlier, a very technical piece of equipment here. So what is your financial commitment up front, and then what is it going forward here to keep this in operation?
The initial expense to get the box constructed, the state of Wisconsin requires that when it's delivered, it needs to already have the internal camera mechanism already installed. And then, of course, it needs to be put on a truck and brought here. All of that was initially $16,500.
Okay.
From there, the ongoing expenses are going to total about $1,500 a year. We're kind of viewing this that it's going to be a forever project, and we hope it to be in place after we're all long gone. The fees for the monthly monitoring of the alarm system, which was required, that runs up to not quite $500 over the course of a year. There's some licensing and inspection stuff that needs to happen. That's another $500. And then there's a $500 program fee that enables Safe Haven Baby Box to make sure that anybody who needs to know where these boxes are Safe Haven Baby Box makes sure that that information is out there to the people that need it.
So if you look around the state, and we mentioned this is number 4, they're kind of scattered. Racine was the most recent one. That was last month that was put in. And then there's Elkhorn near Lake Geneva and Reedsburg, which is northwest of Madison a little bit, mostly north. So these are kind of spread out. Did you have to have approval on a state level for your location? How was that okayed, or was it just, this is an organization that wants to do it, this is where they want to put it, we're going to let them?
It's kind of the latter.
Okay.
After the legislation was passed and it was legal for people to surrender a child anonymously, and that's kind of the key to this whole
Correct.
thing, then you needed to have someone willing to host it, fire station or the like, and then you need somebody to pay the bills. And when our group at Knights Columbus found out about this, it seemed like a natural that this would be something, given our mission, that we would get behind.
I'm going to ask this last question here, and it seems like a pretty straightforward question, but I'm imagining that the answer is pretty nuanced. These don't get used a lot, but when they're needed, they save lives. How will your council, which is now going to be heavily invested in this for years and years to come, measure success with this baby box?
I've had this question a couple of times. To begin with, we kind of hope the thing never gets used. But tragically, these things need to be in place. And the analogy that I drew with some friends of mine was, I ride a motorcycle. I've never cracked my skull on the pavement, but I still wear a helmet every time I throw my leg over the saddle, because if I do, I need that helmet to be there.
Right.
Likewise, we hope that this doesn't get used, but if there's somebody out there in crisis and they need to be able to have this available to them, we want to make sure they know where they can find one in our community.
Well, it is now available in that community thanks to you folks with the Knights of Columbus Duck Creek Council. Jerry, thanks so much.
Thank you.